in your sort of surveys, did you actually ask people what their sexual dysfunction was in terms of just to having an idea of are there particular ones which people are more willing to disclose versus others?
So we asked them which symptoms of sexual dysfunction they had. There weren't enough participants for us to do any kind of analysis where we looked at the difference, just because we were like, we just need to get enough participants that we can run the model we want to run. And if we tried to get enough of each different dysfunction, it was gonna be painful statistically. So that is something that it would be really cool to look at, because I mean, I have intuitions that there are some that are probably harder to disclose than others, and some that are probably harder to hide physically than others. Do you have kind of an intuition about that? I guess you've asked the question, so you probably have some thoughts.
Well, I was trying to think. So I do not know all the sort of sexual dysfunctions out there, which kind of is what sort of prompted the question being like,
Mm.
are there, because if there's certain things which probably can be fixed with medication, quote unquote, then you're probably more likely to disclose it than others. Also, I guess in my head, you're thinking if the some are based on certain defects, then you have no choice but to disclose them. Um, so so yeah, those were going into my head, but I didn't kind of know. I don't have in my head. I have no clue of like how many sort of things come under
Mm.
sexual dysfunction,
I
which
should
kind of
have.
makes the question hard. Yeah.
I probably should have clarified that when I was explaining the study. That was oversight on my part. I think I forget that I know these things, and normal people just don't don't have all
Uh,
the symptoms of
uh,
sexual dysfunctions
all right,
memorized.
so now you have your chance to clear the get
Okay,
the record
yes.
straight. Go on, if you could
So
explain
I'm
what they
using
are.
the kind of the diagnostic statistic manual definitions of sexual dysfunction. There are different ways of conceptualizing it, but this was sort of the easiest, I think. And it sort of splits it into four different kinds of dysfunctions that you might have. So, desire or arousal kind of disorders. So that's feeling particularly low desire. There isn't one for feeling extreme desire that used to be considered a dysfunction, but now, like, sex addiction, I guess it would have been called. That's not in the DSM anymore, but there is like that distressingly low sexual arousal and desire. So the arousal part includes difficulty with obtaining or maintaining an erection or lubrication, anything to do with getting physically aroused. The next one is things to do with orgasm, so orgasmic disorders. So things like premature ejaculation would be one, delayed ejaculation, so those two ends of the spectrum, and then female orgasmic disorder as well. So just that again, delay or absence in being able to orgasm. And then the last one is sexual pain disorders. So things like vaginismus, where you have this tensing or tightening of the muscles that sort of make penetration really difficult or impossible because it hurts too much.
I know you said you didn't have enough respondents to actually be able to analyze this, but did you get a sense of just what types were more common or less common in your data?
Yeah, so first of all, most of the people who responded were women. So that obviously biased the kind of sexual dysfunctions that people were having. The most common two were orgasmic disorders in women, so that delay or absence of orgasm, and the desire and arousal ones, which I think those two sort of make sense as being quite common difficulties. Um, yeah.
I was about to say, you hear that, men? It's not your fault.
Mm. which is interesting because there's so much more research on sexual dysfunction in men. If you look up sexual dysfunction, you're going to be getting stuff about erectile dysfunction. That is what people are studying.
Yeah, well, because studying men is just like the thing, right? In any
Mm.
field, in any subject, you take what's it in exercise science, everything is studied on like 20 to 30-year-old athletes, and then it's just taken over
Mm.
being like, yeah, this will work.
Yeah.
And I guess and I guess the same for heart attacks. I remember talking to someone about autism research, yeah, Dr. Callum
Mm.
Hartley, the other day. He was talking
Yeah.
about how the diagnosis was 4:1 in boys to girls, but that's because we're very poor at detecting autism in girls. But yeah, it's because
It's all done
It's
in
because
men.
men are the default.
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Yeah,
don't
it's
don't
the
hate the
same.
game. Sorry,
It's the
don't hate the
same
player,
with
hate the
heart
game.
attacks, isn't it? Like, so many heart attacks in women go undiagnosed because the symptoms look totally different.
All the animal studies are well. My I During my PhD, we did it on both males and females, but generally speaking, even all animal studies are usually done in
Mm.
male rats and mice. It's easier.
I think I don't remember where I heard this, but it's just because women are so much more complicated hormonally. There's just so much more going on, and so rather than going, "Ooh, a complex problem, let's figure it out," they're like, men are easy."
It's much easier to publish. Do you know how hard it is otherwise? Because for someone who did animal studies for ages, like the ovulation cycle in a rat is 4 days. So if you're trying to like capture that and trying to study anything, it's very,
Yeah,
very, 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 very hard. And then you have to then
Mm.
next step and next step and next step, going from preclinical research to clinical research. Yeah, it's just easier to just like do it on boys, men.
what about post? I don't know about rats, but women, postmenopausal women, hormones seem pretty consistent.
Mm.
Yeah, true.
Definitely more
Do
consistent.
rats experience menopause?
Um, Maybe I'm sure they do. I actually don't know. Uh, yeah, all of my research has been with adolescent rats at the other end of the spectrum.
Mm.
But that's a good question, Katie. Was any of your research on sort of postmenopausal women, or all your cat, or all your sort of respondents young with the?
It wasn't something that we specifically like looked at. I think the age range was pretty pretty normal for sex research. Is usually people who are in their 20s or 30s were the ones who were most likely to respond. We did say participants had to be above the age of 18, but there was no like maximum age you had to be. So I imagine we had postmenopausal people responding, but not something that we looked at. But that would be probably something quite interesting to see. And I guess, like Olivia was saying, it might make it easier to control for some of those hormonal changes going on.